A man opens his eyes with a fearful gaze. He says in his heart, "Where am I now? And is he dead already?" He touches the walls around him, and with a panicked face realizes that the room's walls are made of wood. The man approaches. He is confined within a coffin, but strangely, the man realizes that he is now standing upright. He asks himself what is happening and why can't he remember anything. If he is indeed in a coffin right now, why is he standing instead of lying down? But there's no one to answer his questions as he is trapped alone in that cramped room. The man looks frustrated and scared. He begins to think of ways to escape from the cramped space. So, he decides to break the wooden wall with his bare hands. This unnamed MC hits the wooden wall with all his might until it breaks. As the wooden wall finally shatters, a yellow liquid flows out from the broken hole. The man named Go Insung touches the liquid on his hand and realizes that it's not ordinary water, but honey. Suddenly, a hologram from the system appears and announces that it is the mysterious honey capable of providing lifestyle and ordinary rank effects, with an additional healing effect. The man widens his eyes once again. He is shocked to see the hologram screen suddenly appearing in front of his face, especially when the wounds on his fingers slowly heal because of the honey flowing into his hands. Now, he is even more excited to pound the wooden walls around him, because Go Insung knows that no matter the wound, it will heal with the honey he just found. Even hunger and thirst are quenched with that honey. Go Insung continues to pound the walls for quite some time. He starts to wonder how long he's been pounding the wall. He only pounds the wood hoping to escape from the cramped room. Go Insung doesn't even know what time it is now or how long he's been pounding the wooden wall. The sound of the wooden wall being pounded continuously echoes, until finally the wooden wall breaks. Go Insung sighs with relief and exits the wooden wall. The protagonist murmurs, "Where am I now?" while looking around. Go Insung realizes he is now inside a rather small room. On one side of the room, there's a honey duct, and on the other side, there's a hole covered with stones. Go Insung continues to look around and turns to the other side of the room, then finds a steel grill window. The young man murmurs to himself, pondering why he has been in a coffin all this time. Suddenly, the hologram screen from the system appears and says that Go Insung, as user 5248, has successfully escaped from the tutorial dungeon. Go Insung is surprised to read the sentence on the system screen. The writing on the hologram screen changes. Now the notification reads that Go Insung has entered the dungeon. A total of 90 people can enter dungeon. Go Insung immediately puts on a shocked face reading the writing on the system screen. The young man realizes that there are more mysterious places after this. The system then asks Go Insung to choose a nickname to use for the streaming broadcast. The writing on the hologram screen changes again. The system seems not to care about the man's question. Instead, it asks the man to create a nickname for the streaming broadcast. Go Insung mutters angrily. He says, "This is all insane." The man keeps muttering in his panicked mind. Go Insung even falls to his knees realizing his situation is so difficult. He finally mutters, "Please save me." But the system detects that his muttering is his new nickname. Finally, the system sets Go Insung's nickname as "Please Save Me." The system also informs that Go Insung can now check his live channel. Go Insung cannot change his nickname until completing areas 1 to 10 in area 1. Then the narrator's voice adds, "Viewer comment session" appears. The first comment from Go Insung, full of mockery, appears. It surprises Go Insung as he immediately lifts his face and looks at the hologram screen showing comments from his live viewers. Go Insung is amazed to realize that people are watching him. One of the viewers, this young man, asks him to check the settings on his live channel for more information. Hearing the instructions from the viewer behind the hologram, Go Insung immediately checks the settings on the system. He finds some important information. One of them is about activities in the dungeon and how long he lived in that coffin. The young man looks shocked to realize he has been in that coffin for 306 days. He wonders why patient viewers are watching him for so long. Go Insung then asks if he's dead already. A viewer answers that he is both dead and alive at the same time. Go Insung immediately asks to be sent back to his original place to the figure who commented. But the figure watering the plants answers that what Go Insung said is the dumbest thing he's heard lately. The mysterious man looks relaxed even though Go Insung looks very anxious. Go Insung then asks who the figure behind the comment is. Why can't he help Go Insung? The mysterious figure only answers that he is busy. Go Insung continues to press the mysterious man to tell him what all of this is about. The young man even shouts desperately asking for help from the people commenting behind the hologram screen. But the figure in the comments only replies that Go Insung must learn by himself because he is not Go Insung's teacher. Hearing that, Go Insung becomes more frustrated. He is so angry that he bites his shirt to vent his frustration. Go Insung, the protagonist, is desperate. He just sits cross-legged, bows his head with a gloomy face, and mourns his chaotic fate. He stays like this for a long time and doesn't want to do anything. The person behind the hologram comments again that if Go Insung keeps behaving like this, he will fail. So with despair, Go Insung asks what he should do. Ting. A hologram screen appeared, showing a list of shops owned by Dungeon 1-1. Inside the screen, it displayed the inventory of each shop, such as bread, flashlight, and steel saw. Go Insung finally began tinkering with the hologram screen to find other information. Then, Go Insung asked the figure behind the hologram screen if he could return to his world if he left that place. The mysterious figure replied that if Go Insung managed to enter the top 9, the administrator would drag him to meet King Yanluo. Surprised to hear the name, Go Insung asked who King Yanluo was. The mysterious figure answered, "He is the king of hell." Upon hearing that, Go Insung still thought that meant he would still die. But this young man tried to find the positive side, thinking that maybe this could be an opportunity to return to his world. Suddenly, several new comment columns appeared, asking who Go Insung, the newcomer, was. The new viewers requested something to welcome their arrival. Go Insung concluded that the situation now must be similar to Africa TV. So, he thought he had to entertain to receive balloons from the viewers. Go Insung shouted enthusiastically at the hologram screen. But the viewers behind the monogram screen still called him a fool because his nickname was "Please Save Me." But Go Insung tried not to pay attention to such mockery and explained that he was the 100th out of 101 to complete the tutorial, and the next dungeon could only accommodate 90 people. That meant there was no one else in that place. Go Insung was ridiculed by his viewers because he had just realized the situation he was in. Even Go Insung took 306 days to complete the first tutorial. They thought Go Insung was stubborn. Realizing that his viewers were increasing, Go Insung became very excited and asked if any of them knew how to get out of that place. This young man even went so far as to frighten his hands in front of his chest as if pleading for one of the good people watching him to tell him how to get out of there. But they instead thought Go Insung was foolish and told him to use his brain as he did when completing the tutorial. One of the viewers said that they could also be punished or warned if they told Go Insung how to escape the room. Go Insung was surprised and then explained that he had just kept hitting the wall continuously until he managed to escape. This young man even showed off his muscular arms, a wide smile on his face because he was very proud of those muscles. One viewer sounded incredulous that Go Insung managed to escape by continuously hitting the wood. Then Go Insung showed the box that he managed to destroy on the other side of the room. The viewers started to get excited. They didn't expect someone as determined as Go Insung who could keep hitting that wooden box for 300 days. But one viewer still criticized Go Insung by calling him foolish, because Go Insung could escape from the room just by pushing the top part of the wood. One comment from that viewer successfully shocked Go Insung. Go Insung's face even turned terrifying upon hearing that. Not long after, the audience burst into laughter seeing Go Insung serious with his statement. Go Insung became weak realizing how foolish he was. This young man then sat back down, slumped in the middle of the room. He no longer paid attention to the negative comments from his live streaming viewers, until finally one of the viewers sent him 7 balloons. Seeing that, Go Insung became enthusiastic again. He immediately rose with a cheerful face and thanked them very much. Go Insung bowed while saying that he would work hard to become #1 as a gesture of thanks to someone who gave him the first balloon. They thought Go Insung was an interesting main character because he was always serious. One viewer also asked Go Insung not to take each dungeon lightly. Not long after, a loud clanging sound was heard from inside Go Insung's room. The young man was climbing the wall with a small iron window above it. He was sawing the bars of the window with a small iron saw. Suddenly, the system reported that someone had successfully entered the dungeon. Go Insung looked very surprised to hear that notification. Go Insung was even more astonished to see that notification. He became more excited to see the bars quickly get out of the cramped room and receive the success prize. One of the viewers behind the hologram screen asked Go Insung how long he had been using the saw to try to cut the iron. With an awkward smile, this young man answered that he had been trying like that for a week. Go Insung thought there was only one person who remained faithful to watch him when he realized that no one else was watching him from behind the live streaming. The mysterious viewer said that everyone left because they saw Go Insung's foolish behavior for a week. Go Insung asked puzzled what he should do because the stone was too strong and too big for him to move by himself out of the window. This young man also explained that his head wouldn't fit through the narrow honeycomb drain on the other side of the room. The mysterious viewer asked Go Insung to think of a sensible way. Go Insung replied that's why he used the saw and ladder. This young man climbed back up the ladder to see the bars of the window. Finally, another iron bar at the window was successfully dropped by Go Insung. But with that, his weak body also fell from the top of the ladder. The sound of the impact was quite loud as Go Insung fell flat on the ground with a limp body. Go Insung complained inwardly because he managed to cut the second iron bar after 10 days. He was very tired and almost desperate to try to get out of that cramped room. Finally, the system appeared and reported that there was one more person who managed to escape from Dungeon 1-1. So, there are currently only 15 slots left for people. Go Insung was shocked and immediately rose upon hearing the report from the system. He looked around carefully without caring about the comments from the viewers who kept mocking him. The man climbed back up the ladder, looked around, then went down again. As if realizing something, he began pounding the walls around him with the ladder until the ladder was shattered into pieces. Insung attempted to make fire from the broken ladder. He asked his noisy audience to just watch and see what he would do. Insung smiled enthusiastically. He continued to spin the wood until the fire ignited. One of the spectators gave a stern warning because Insung's hair was catching fire. Panicked because his hair was on fire, Insung jumped around in a panic. Despite the incident, the audience laughed. Some even made funny comments and gave Insung some balloons. They seemed very entertained by the young man's antics. Feeling like everything was futile, Insung finally ran carrying the fire in his hair to light it under a large stone covering the window. The audience began to be surprised as the large stone on the window started moving. But Insung ended up cheering because the large stone fell. Insung continued to jump with joy as he successfully removed the stone from the window. Meanwhile, the audience was amazed to see Insung succeed. They wondered why Insung did that and what the object was. Insung then explained that the object placed above the window was not a stone because the creature had very clear patterns on its shell. And Insung realized that the creature occasionally moved. So Insung finally found out that the object was not a stone but a turtle. Now the giant turtle fell and smiled broadly at Insung. Jumping towards the window, Insung said that this dungeon has 10 stages, from 1-1 to 1-10. The young man speculated that the theme of Clue 10 and the turtle was 10 symbols of longevity while he pondered the theme, which is 10 symbols of longevity. Well, although all of it was still his speculation. Insung smiled broadly because he finally managed to leave the room. Finally, Insung passed the first dungeon. He jumped out of the window and found a room full of shining treasures. Insung smiled happily when he was told by the system that he could take one item from the treasure room. But suddenly, Insung realized that many things in that place were deception. So he had to choose everything carefully. Initially, Insung took silver coins, but they melted away. The young man began to think that he might have to take gold. But then he tried the sword and realized that the weapon was what he needed most to survive. So he finally paced back and forth because he was confused about determining the right item. At this point, suddenly the big turtle that had covered the window screamed. But Insung ignored it and continued to focus on finding the treasure he wanted to take away. Insung paced back and forth while rummaging through the treasures in the room. But he still hadn't found the hidden treasure. When he finished rummaging through the goods, suddenly Insung realized that he was hungry. So he took bread and spread it with a lot of honey. At that moment, the big turtle that had covered the window suddenly approached him and asked for the bread. When the big turtle opened its mouth, Insung saw something inside the turtle's mouth, so he took it and exchanged it for the bread. The audience suspected that the young man's arm would be cut off if he put it into the turtle's mouth. But in reality, Insung's arm was fine. Insung stared in wonder at the object in his hand, and the system appeared, informing that the object held by Insung was a very rare pearl that could tame monsters with a fairly high level. Immediately Insung, and also the live streaming audience, were shocked to hear the notification from the system. They didn't expect Insung to get such a valuable item. Insung concluded that the pearl could tame monsters up to 100%. So he suspected that in the future, there would certainly be very terrifying monsters. At that moment, Insung was lost in his thoughts, suddenly hearing the sound of the turtle snoring because its stomach was full. Insung complained irritably when he realized that his bread had been eaten by the turtle. While looking at the turtle lying comfortably, Insung realized something. He then put the pearl he was holding into the turtle's mouth, because he was sure that the main character in Dungeon 1-1 was the turtle. Initially, the audience was busy mocking Insung's actions. They even threw quite hurtful insults, but suddenly the fat turtle turned into a large monster, which turned out to be a spirit turtle. Instantly, those who mocked were amazed to see the spirit turtle obtained by Insung. They didn't expect Insung to get a top-ranking creature from the mystic class. Insung smiled broadly at his audience after getting such a good jackpot. The turtle monster immediately transformed into a baby form and was held by Insung, who looked very happy. The audience called this young man a very lucky winner. Even one of the spectators sent 5 and recommended him, which made him rise to a high level and get the additional audience capacity feature. Insung immediately thanked them profusely while bowing when he saw the notification. While enjoying his happiness, suddenly his eyesight blurred and slowly he fainted. Insung was awakened by the annoying sound of ducks. Currently, he found himself in a room filled with so many ducklings. He realized that he had fallen asleep while working to determine which ducklings were male and which were female. He found the task too easy, causing him to become easily bored and sleepy. Suddenly, a purplish energy aura surrounded Insung, and a terrifying figure emerged from the purplish light, saying, "Even roosters are living creatures." The figure seemed poised to devour Insung alive. In an instant, the man woke up in a cramped room just like Dungeon 1-1. The event had only been a dream. The information system appeared and informed through a hologram screen that Go Insung was currently in Dungeon 1-2, referred to as the food warehouse. Go Insung was very confused by the room because there was no food inside. It was just a narrow, windowless space with a honey river flowing, similar to the previous room. The only difference was the incredibly high ceiling. Go Insung noticed the only gap near the high ceiling and realized that he could escape through that high gap. He sat back in the middle of the room, pondering the way out of this new room. Suddenly, Go Insung remembered something. He rose and tried to punch the concrete walls around him. However, after just one hit, the black-haired man gave up and tried to check the system store. In the system store, there were various items such as ropes, chicken feed, and growth accelerators. It seemed like one clue to getting out of the dungeon this time was to raise those ducklings. Realizing this possibility, Go Insung began to increase the audience capacity to get more balloons, so he could buy items in the system store for his ducklings. After the audience reached 20 people, Go Insung said that up until now, he was in the last position, but from now on, everything would be different. The young man shouted enthusiastically. He was determined to prove to his audience that he could rank top and make them give him many balloons. But in the end, Go Insung just lay down bored as before. He started to regret not doing anything and getting only a few audiences who liked to insult him. Every day, Go Insung just fed those ducklings until they got fat. The audience started to get bored watching Go Insung feed the ducklings every day. But Go Insung explained that his pet ducks would soon lay eggs. One of the audience doubted and asked, how could all those ducks lay eggs? Go Insung answered enthusiastically because all those ducks were female. While Go Insung was busy talking to his live streaming audience, suddenly there was a notification from the system that some participants had successfully moved on to the next dungeon. Go Insung was shocked to hear that. Seeing the various expressions on this young man's face, the audience assumed that Go Insung was like someone who had just lost his home or family. The next day when Go Insung woke up from his deep sleep, he saw that his ducklings had laid many eggs. Go Insung looked very happy eating something nutritious and filling. At that moment, the system appeared and informed him that the eggs were from special ducks. So, the eggs could provide physical strength and high stamina. Without hesitation, Go Insung ate many eggs. His muscles grew bigger and his strength multiplied. Once his body became very muscular, Go Insung started pounding the concrete wall with full force because he wanted to get out of there soon. Continuing to pound the wall with enthusiasm, Go Insung said he didn't want to stay there anymore. He wanted to get out. Go Insung kept pounding the wall so hard that the wall stones fell and his hands got injured. The mystical tortoise he obtained in the previous round came out and healed Go Insung's hand. Then the man stood again in front of the wall that had started to crumble. When he was about to start pounding the wall again, suddenly the system appeared and said that some participants had successfully passed to the next round. Go Insung fell to his knees. He almost gave up because even destroying the wall with his pounding strength still required a lot of time. But hearing the system report that there were still 66 slots left, Go Insung's spirit diminished immediately. This young man was exhausted and he began to question his existence there. While staring at the high gap in the ceiling, he lamented his fate. At that moment, Go Insung's eyes caught dozens of ducks passing by in front of him. As if remembering something, the young man caught the ducks and forcibly plucked their feathers. Then he broke the remaining raw eggs and smeared them on his body. Go Insung even rolled over the raw eggs. Go Insung's strange behavior astonished his audience and made them mock him even more. But then the young man explained that he intentionally used raw eggs to make glue. He then showed the artificial wings he had successfully created and attached to his body. The audience considered this young man insane because he was going to do something reckless, which was to defy gravity. Go Insung asked his audience to be patient and see if he would succeed later. The young man prepared to flap his wings and fly to the high gap near the ceiling. Go Insung gathered all his strength. He prepared to fly with the wings he had made from duck feathers. With a smile on his face, Go Insung thought, in real life, he would surely be laughed at by others. But now, thanks to the muscular system, his agility and strength were superhuman. Go Insung tried to fly while flapping his wings after stepping on the wall. He murmured in his heart that he could fly. He tried to flap his wings as hard as he could. The people behind the hologram began to buzz with comments about the abilities of our protagonist. They considered Go Insung crazy and thought it impossible for him to fly. But Go Insung kept trying hard to lift his body with the help of his wings. In the end, he still fell. This made the audience very entertained by his efforts. Although they laughed at Go Insung, the audience remained curious, waiting for his unique attempt again. In a still lying position, Go Insung thought earlier he felt like he couldn't use his strength, as if he was standing on the wrong foot. This young man stared at the ceiling while pondering his frequent failures. Go Insung assumed it was because those wings were not feathers growing from his own body. Go Insung knew those feathers had their life force. Suddenly, as if remembering something, the young man with black hair immediately rose. He sat up and approached the honey river on the other side of the room. Go Insung smiled broadly at the source of life force before him. This young man even laughed satisfactorily thinking about his brilliant idea. But the audience behind the screen began to comment maliciously, urging Go Insung to stop trying altogether because they believed it would be futile. But it wasn't Go Insung's name if he gave up easily. The young man applied honey to the feathers attached to his body. He didn't hesitate to apply so much honey to his shoulders and those feathers. The audience became more amazed and asked what Go Insung intended to do. In the next moment, the hologram system announced the special ability of the honey, which was to give life force. Slowly, those feathers entered Go Insung's body as if wanting to tear it apart. At first, the young man was in pain, but then he began to get used to it and explained to the audience that the feathers were now entering his flesh and truly becoming his own. Although there were still audience members laughing at Go Insung's idea, the young man remained optimistic, smiled, and took a rope to tie the ends of the wings to both his arms. In this way, Go Insung hoped to stabilize the wings on both his arms. But the audience only showed more disdain and urged the young man to just break down the wall. But Go Insung explained that the theme of this room might be one of the 10 symbols of longevity commonly referred to as a stork. As the young man confidently claimed that he could do it, one of the audience members accused Go Insung's words as mere nonsense. There was even someone who questioned where the long-lived stork was because he only saw a chicken. Upon hearing that, Go Insung immediately prepared himself and ran as hard as he could while continuing to say with seriousness that he would be the stork. He shouted. Then, with all his might, he lifted his body. Go Insung truly tried his hardest to climb the wall and fly with his new wings. The audience began to admire him. They almost couldn't believe what they were seeing. They were amazed to see Go Insung succeed in flying up to the very high ceiling with the help of his wings. A spectator commented that it was because of inhuman agility and stamina and the life force of honey. Some audience members didn't even expect honey to function in uniting chicken feathers into their wings. This new way was truly amazing to them. One of Go Insung's fans with the nickname Self-Reflection 469 gave 50 bubbles and advised other viewers never to doubt Go Insung again. Other audience members agreed with this devoted fan of Go Insung. This was the first time they had seen someone fly to the ceiling. The system appeared and announced that the path Go Insung was taking led to Dungeon 1-4. The young man was surprised to read that notification because he should have entered Dungeon 1-3 first. So the system explained that it was a deserved reward for Go Insung after he painstakingly passed that floor. Other audience members were even amazed to see the loser in the last place finally take the first place. It seemed they were getting excited because Go Insung could be in the first place and exceed their expectations. Even Go Insung's fan with the nickname Self-Reflection 469 gave another 50 bubbles as congratulations. This figure said that they had only looked at Go Insung for support all this time. Positive comments and newly received gifts only made Go Insung more enthusiastic. Go Insung was initially happy to see many gifts and viewers coming in. But suddenly, one of the viewers said that the god Yama might also be watching Go Insung's broadcast. He worried that Go Insung would be abducted by that god. Hearing that, Go Insung was shocked and asked if the god Yama could watch his live stream. But then the viewer replied that he was just talking nonsense. Meanwhile, in one of the mysterious rooms, at the end of dark corridors, a man with a white beard sipped his drink. He said with his heavy voice, "I see it, fool. I watch without anyone knowing." This figure was so mysterious with a terrifying laugh, making anyone who saw him shudder. Perhaps he was the one called the god Yama. The mysterious figure continued, "I haven't seen someone funny like this person, PS or Go Insung." On the wall of our protagonist's room, Go Insung just sat silently. He sat with a gloomy face while staring downwards, which was so steep. The audience began to wonder why Go Insung had been daydreaming since earlier. They were eager to see this young man act again soon. But instead, he jumped back into Dungeon 1-2. His somber expression seemed to indicate that something was missed and left behind. While his audience was confused, Go Insung bought some chicken feed. After that, he poured a lot of chicken food on the floor so that his chickens could eat again. Go Insung said that the chickens also need to eat. Then, the leftover food will be put into his investment. Then this young man put some chickens into a sack. The audience became more amazed to see this young man bringing chickens as food reserves. Even though actually, one couldn't bring food from Dungeons 1-2 to Dungeons 1-3. Go Insung replied that he remembered that. But he still returned to fly through the window gap above the room and said that the rule was useless in Dungeons 1-4. With confidence, Go Insung stepped on the high walls of the room while holding the sack of chickens in his hand. The hologram screen reappeared and announced, "Streamer please save me," had entered Dungeon 1-4 first. There are 69 points left for Dungeons 1-4. Go Insung murmured happily after reading the narrator's notification. He was happy because what he did didn't affect his success. The audience enthusiastically gave comments full of admiration for Go Insung. The system reappeared and announced that Go Insung was entitled to a special reward as the first person to enter Dungeon 1-4. The young man wanted to get a D rank random skill book chest. The young man's face changed to joy after reading the notification. Go Insung immediately plucked his feathers because he wanted to get his prize right away. But this young man looked very painful when plucking feathers that had merged with his body. The audience laughed again at Go Insung's innocent behavior. Not long after, the monitor screen reappeared and stated that Go Insung had successfully obtained the skill book chest. It was a book full of information about skills ranging from normal to advanced ranks. As Go Insung opened the brightly shining prize chest, the system explained that the skill book could strengthen focus because it was a skill book to strengthen focus. As Go Insung was very excited to learn and read the book, suddenly the book emitted a very strong glow. Its bright light even illuminated Go Insung's entire body, and slowly all the information in the book entered his mind. For a moment, Go Insung became dizzy when the merging process was complete. He just stood stiff as all the information in the book entered him. The system appeared and provided information that Go Insung had now acquired normal level focus strengthening skills. Details of the skills that could enhance concentration. The longer it is used, the more stamina is drained. Skill rank will increase when the maximum level capacity is reached. That was the sound of the notification from his hologram screen. Go Insung thought that now his head felt clearer. It felt different from usual. He could now talk and interact normally again. Go Insung became even more excited to go to the next challenge. The young man with black hair began to stand right in the middle of the road ahead. The mysterious street in front of him had spotlights shining on each side, left, and right. It looked deserted and calm, which means it hides very big trouble. The system appeared and provided information about Dungeons 1-4. It was the path used by prisoners when they escaped. Security has been strengthened, but players can escape if they have determination and wisdom. Go Insung was surprised to hear that explanation. He tried to open a shop in that dungeon and saw there was armor inside. This young man assumed that the dungeon was quite dangerous because there was armor in the shop. So, determination and wisdom, PS muttered softly. He began to open the hologram screen and take one of his stored items. So he decided to buy armor to pass through this mysterious room. Now after wearing the armor, Go Insung became more enthusiastic about passing through that room. Now, the young man commonly called PS will start a new struggle to pass through Dungeon 1-4 after wearing leather armor that fits perfectly on his body. He immediately ran with enthusiasm on that street. A large, shiny axe fell from above. The axe was right above PS's head. Will PS survive this dangerous obstacle in Dungeon 1-4 this time? Stay tuned for his story.